Okay, so what I'd like to do at this point, I've been having a dialogue with a gentleman who he was in the field of construction. He got seriously injured and has now been almost bedridden because he ends up sleeping 16 hours a day. And he said he has suicidal thoughts all the time. And, and you may call this initiation, a time where, there's life is bringing to him a very, very tough challenge and asking to initiate so that he can, carve out the ego and move into light. And it's really hard. Like if I sent it back saying like, "Hey, listen, one of the things that I thought was this is an initiation," it'd be like, "Screw you,"
Right, exactly.
What do you mean this is initiation? Screw you. Or
Right.
you know how there's always people like, I was actually really sad because my son had left on a long vacation. I was just sad to see him go.
Mm,
And my
mm,
girlfriend's like, "Why are you sad?" I'm like, "Just because I am sad." And she's like, "Well, what would happen if you weren't sad?" I'm like, "I don't care because I'm sad." It's like
right, right,
just give me this moment to be sad. Can't I just have like 10 minutes to be sad before you
right.
try to turn me around and reframe it? And so I'm wondering how when someone, clearly this gentleman is going through a really, really tough time. I couldn't even begin to imagine what his life would be like or what to
Hmm.
say or how to deal with it. Um,
Yeah,
what, I mean, and I know that you yourself have gone through similar kind of situations where you've hit a
absolutely.
block, like kind of a sense of helplessness or hopelessness. Now, would you
Mm.
view that, is that a crisis of a spirit when that happens, or what would you say is happening during those times when you feel so hopeless and helpless?
Well, I think we all go through periods like that, and I know the gentleman that you're talking about is extreme because he is contemplating suicide, and I have been through many periods like that in my own life, seriously contemplating suicide because I didn't feel I had the tools and I felt so helpless and it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to push my book here. I'm really not. That's not my nature. But
Mm-hmm.
the reason I wrote Walking in Light was to give people tools for when you are that down, how to start to dig yourself out. And so, number one thing would be if this gentleman was interested in doing some shamanic journey work. I'm not saying it's a guarantee because sometimes when we're so lost in that feeling of helplessness and so down and out, we can't move out of the way to meet up with the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So I go through months where sometimes where I can journey for somebody else, but I can't journey for myself. I'm too in my own stuff to be
Mm-hmm.
able to get out of the way to hear the spirits. But that would be something I would at least broach that particular topic, especially people who are bedridden. Shamanic journeying can be an incredible freedom for them because they can move in
Mm-hmm.
their journeys and run again in
Uh-huh.
journeys and see again. So I've worked with a lot of disabled people who get freedom in their journeys. And then the other thing too is I know that place of hopelessness and nothing's ever going to change. But from a shamanic point of view, and this is believed in other spiritual traditions too, is what we feed grows.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes in my own life, I have to fake. I have to do the practices that I wrote about in Walking in Light, but I'm faking them because I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe in them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
too lost. And so some of those would be like, I'm never going to get better. I feel like I'm never going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to say, even if I don't mean it, I have to rephrase that to where do I want the outcome to be? Because from a shamanic point of view, thoughts are things.
Right.
And so that every time you have a thought and you say a word, you're actually manifesting. It's like I love to use the metaphor of spinning. I'm a spinner. I spin on a spinning wheel, fiber into yarn. And so if you think of it, you start something in the invisible realm. Shamans work in the invisible realms and they
Mm-hmm.
spin something into the fabric of reality in this world. And so even if you're faking it, saying things like, I am healing now, or I will get through this. I am calling in the people and the situations and the healing that are helping me to get better at this point. And again, it might not be coming from a true place, but you have to. It goes back to the scientific model of neuroplasticity. You have to create a new route in the brain. You have to do it. And that's what neuroplasticity is all about, teaching people who are paralyzed how to walk again, is creating a new pathway, a new neural pathway in the brain. So how we do that on an emotional level is we change our thoughts. We start to focus on words such as, I have Post-its all over my desk: radiance, love, appreciation, light, magic, expansion, exquisite, words that when I'm really down that are going to help to uplift me a bit. And then shamans are also seen as dreamers, that we're dreaming this world into being. So as this man is lying in bed dreaming, using his daydreams, because right now his daydreams are keeping that same dream intact, but using our daydreams to see, hear, feel, taste, smell, I'm feeling healthy, and I'm smiling, and I'm running through the wet grass, and I'm feeling the moisture in the air, and I'm smelling the smell of roses, and I feel a joy in my heart, and I'm hearing the birds sing, and it's not in the future, but it's here right now. So you step into that world, and you actually perceive it. And so again, when somebody's in such a deep down place, the first thing is to acknowledge how you're feeling and not to deny it. I'm feeling suicidal. That's how I'm feeling right now. And here are the thoughts, the words, and the dreams, the daydreams that I have to start to use to shift my situation. And right now I'm faking it in doing that work, but it does start to create new neural pathways in the brain. And so in the study of neuroplasticity, which is very similar to shamanism, what shamans teach, science is catching up to what people in ancient traditions knew.
Yeah.
There was a neuroscientist back in the 1950s, and I love the metaphor that he used. He talked about if you're sledding on a mountain and you keep sledding the same route, you always put your sled on exactly the same place, and you go down exactly the same track, those tracks are going to go very deep.
Right.
But if you want to go a different route, you have to pick up the sled and start a new track.
Right.
And so that's what we have to do with the brain. And the brain will cooperate because we do have the power to heal ourselves. The brain will cooperate, but it is that daily, and it's hard. It's hard work.
Well,
it sounds so easy. Change your thoughts and
it's not.
It's not. But you got to do it.
You and I were talking earlier. I had told you how I had like plantar fasciitis for 6 months, and then again this year I had a back injury that's kind of basically my body has been messed up for the last 6 months, and most recently, the newest manifestation is a shoulder issue. And I thought, okay, I just want this. So I looked at your book, and actually, if you look at my book, I have little stickies on every single journey. And then what I do is I muscle test on which is one that I need to do the best, the most. So I did one where I did a dismemberment. And I just thought, I don't know what's happening, but I'm not healing the way that I want to be. It's taking so long. Why am I in pain? And I said, please take away, I went in and I said, please take away whatever are the thoughts that I'm having that are not conducive to healing, because I have a feeling I'm doing something that's not super helpful. And then And then I had this vision of someone coming, like a snake actually coming, one of my power animals coming in and kind of healing my shoulder. And for that moment, my shoulder felt great. And then after I woke up from the journey and got up and thought, oh, my shoulder feels better. And then moved it. I'm like, ow, it hurts again. And I thought it didn't work. And then
Yeah.
that evening, I went to get a massage because it's just been in so much pain. But I was
Mm.
holding out the possibility. I've been walking and jogging, and I'm just thinking I'm healthy, I'm whole, I'm in alignment, my body is balanced. I'm just kind of going through this visioning, and by that evening, my shoulder was healed. And now, granted, it required someone else to help me on the in the real world and in this other world, but it happened. And so it didn't happen at that moment. I mean, something
Right.
happened. Maybe what the journey was a release that enabled that actual massage that I got to help, which it may not have had I not done that stuff. I mean, it doesn't even come out the way that you think, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah, it doesn't come out in the way you think, and it also doesn't always come out in the timing that
yeah.
you want. I don't want to go into details about what I'm dealing with on a physical level, but I'm dealing with a very complicated physical issue, and the medical profession really doesn't have a permanent solution. They have temporary solutions,
Yeah,
but not
pain.
permanent.
Yeah.
So I'm working with the only woman in the world who has come up with an alternative solution to this, but it takes time. It's an
Mhm.
exercise program. And how she describes it to people, because some people it can take many, many months before they even notice the slightest change, is and I think this is true with the neuroplasticity and with everything I'm talking about with thoughts and words and daydreams,
Mhm.
is that first an invisible foundation gets set up in your body
Mm.
where you're not seeing any change happening, and you're saying nothing's happening. But then once that invisible foundation starts to set up, something manifests on the physical level. And so I was thinking, I think a lot about it because number one, I'm doing the program every day,
Mhm.
but how it relates to shamanism, because I have so many students and I know so many clients who give up so fast. Well, I went for a shamanic healing and it didn't work. And what I found is that something does go on very deep on an invisible level that we can't see. And how I describe it is a seed that's been planted in the earth.
Mm.
There's a germination process that goes on. There's an invisible process that goes on, which is hugely a powerful process, but it's invisible. We can't see it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, working with shamanic practices and with shamanic healing, part of the issue is we live in a culture where we want change to happen immediately.
Mhm.
And whether, I teach the same thing in my workshops for healing environmental pollution, is don't give up, because so many people say it's not, we've been doing this work for years and it's not working, because you don't understand how much of the fabric of reality is starting to be a new fabric of reality is being woven into being, but you can't see it yet. And
Mhm.
so the key with all spiritual work, not just shamanism, but with all spiritual work, is to do the work, and to, no matter what the outcome is to just do the work and to
Mhm.
understand that the desired outcome is going to come in the appropriate timing and in a possibly very surprising way.
I'm laughing because yesterday I did a journey because I was telling you I did it in preparation for your book, but just also I do journeys all the time, and I've been falling asleep in my journeys. Or I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but I feel like I'm falling asleep, and it's like a deep sleep. But then the minute I hear the drums that come back, I'm awake. So it's like, well, how could that be sleeping? Because I wouldn't, if I were fully asleep, I wouldn't all of a sudden hear the drums and come back. So I went and I journeyed and said, why is this happening? Am I
Right.
sleeping? What is happening? And what I got was it said, you think too much. So we just need to knock you out so we can do some deep work.
That's interesting. Yeah.
This level.
Yeah. Yeah, I do tell people, I say that a lot goes on when we think we're sleeping during a journey because it hits a level of the psyche. And the other thing that I talk about too is that if you look at shamanic cultures, shamans didn't lie down and journey. They danced and they sang and
Mm-hmm.
they drummed while they journeyed. And so this is the whole neo shamanic movement
Mm-hmm.
of lying down with a CD and journeying is not how shamans have ever journeyed. And so
Mm-hmm.
I really get my students, I encourage them like crazy to get out a drum, stand up, dance, start to sing your journeys. And people can't believe how much deeper they're going in their journeys,
Mm-hmm.
bringing that action, that physical action, as shamans always did throughout the world. You really don't see any cultures where shamans lie
Yeah.
down and journey.
So people can actually drum and actually visualize the journey when they're
Oh,
doing it.
yes.
Okay, I've never tried it. I have to try that to see because I may
I've,
just be
yeah.
sleeping, but I'm holding out the belief that it's something deeper. At least that's what I've been told is happening.
I've always liked to drum for myself. I've
Yeah.
never liked listening to drumming. I need more of that active process, and it really helps people. It cuts down one of the challenges that we have in shamanic journeying, just like in meditation, is mind chatter and
Mm-hmm.
doing some drumming or rattling while you journey, dancing and singing. You can't be thinking about something else and chanting your journey at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it helps to cut down on the mind chatter.
That's a good tip. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do, the
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.